Hi friends, Dean here with Escape to Gaming. Today I'm ultra excited to bring you probably my last video for a while, as I'm going to be gone from the internet for a little bit. But I wanted to talk about the original Xbox, one of my favorite systems to collect for. I love the 6th generation of consoles, more specifically the original Xbox, even though I love the PlayStation 2 and actually preferred it initially over the Xbox. Back in 2005, a game came out in October, which was Land of the Dead, Road to Fiddler's Green. You could only get it on PC or on the original Xbox. That was the only way I could play the game. I went to see Land of the Dead, the movie, and they had an incredible trailer for this game. And I said, that's it, I've got to get an Xbox. I already had seen the ones at my friends' homes and was quite impressed with it, but just nothing. I was very happy with my PS2, and to me, I didn't think there was any graphical differences. I thought they were pretty much the same games and the same consoles. It was before the internet, where you can see everything and have it deconstructed to death, and you can see comparisons and all that. So back then, I was ultra happy with the PS2, but I'm glad that I got this. Even though this is an incredibly low Metacritic score game, I was very happy to play this. Again, we didn't know about bad reviews. You just bought the game, you liked it, you played it. Either you loved it or you didn't, and that was the end of it. We weren't swayed by reviews and all that. So because of that, I ended up with a wonderful original Xbox back in 2005. It was in October. I think October 18th, the day that the game came out, was the day that I bought the console. Ironically, I did the very same thing in 2009 and bought the Xbox 360 Elite in the latter part of 2009, the same day that Wolfenstein from 2009 came out. That was my reason for buying an Xbox 360. So, but anyway, today is going to be about the original Xbox, which I have, for some reason, I absolutely love the 6th generation games. I could easily do one of these on my Commodore 64 games, in memories, and Super NES, and certainly the PlayStation 1 or 2. But today is all about the Xbox. I love everything about its industrial design. I think it's a very handsome design. It didn't do very well. Unfortunately, it was kind of a money loser for Microsoft, believe it or not. They sold 24 million copies of the original Xbox console in its lifespan, compared to the 150 million PS2 consoles over even larger span of time. So clearly, the Sony had the better selling console, but it really wasn't till later, until actually just the last couple of years, where I've actually had both consoles and compared the multiplats. When I bought my Xbox, I never bought any games that I had already played on the PS2. So to me, I'd buy a game and play it on the Xbox. It looked fantastic, but I had never tried comparing, okay, let me see what Max Payne looks like on the original Xbox versus the PS2. Today, those kind of comparisons have been done to death, and people clearly know that the original Xbox, and even the GameCube, had superior graphics to the PlayStation 2, as wonderful as a PlayStation 2 is, and I love it to this day. And I'll be doing one of these on my favorite games for it in time. Unfortunately, I'm running out of time to do that, so I'm going to at least squeeze this one out. I love the original Xbox. Just about a year and a half ago, I found one locally, an ultra clean one, for $40 and bought it, and I was very happy to have it. The same week that I bought my Xbox 360, I sold my PS2 and original Xbox. It gave me $26 for each console at one of my local Dimple stores back in 2009. And I go, all right, and I rubbed my hands together, went out and I bought a couple, provided enough money for a couple, Xbox 360 games, including a huge pile of PS2 and original Xbox games that I wish I had never gotten rid of. I made a colossal mistake. Most of the games I had already given away to Classic Game Room, and to my nephews. So a few I had left I took in and traded, and God, I regret it. I'm still catching up today. Now, I have 96 games in my collection for the original Xbox, because it is my favorite collection to collect for, or my favorite system to collect for. I love the industrial design of the unit itself. It is a handsome design. I like how they incorporated the actual Xbox logo. It's a giant X on literally in a box. And it's a handsome concept. I love the color combination with the green and the black. I think the logo design is extremely nice and handsome. I love the interface in the little, powered up animations like I showed in the beginning of this video. It's just everything about it. It's like it fired on all 8 cylinders, and it's a wonderful system to collect for. And there are many other wonderful colors, there's see-through clear ones, in blue ones and green ones. In fact, I have one of the blue controllers, and they have like a matching, beautiful. I wouldn't mind having the blue actual Xbox that matches this. But I like the black ones. I still think, to this day, I'm kind of a more traditional person. I love the black ones. Here in the United States, we had a Mountain Dew and a Pepsi one that was in a really vibrant, bright lime green. One of those, I actually, if I could find one and they were affordable, I certainly wouldn't mind having one of those. I might even be buying a fourth one. I have a total of 3 very clean. There's not even a scratch on them. They're immaculate condition. They work good. Unfortunately, there's a few issues with them. The clock capacitor, you definitely need to have that taken care of, as it will leak and can destroy the motherboard in time. Hopefully, mine haven't done that yet. I don't know. And as well as other things, some of the DVD drives weren't the greatest, especially in the earlier models. So you have to kind of upgrade those or what have you. But what I'm going to be doing, my good friend Clint, who has a wonderful channel called Blast Mode 7. I'll have a link for his channel below. Him and I both have had a tremendous amount of health problems over the last 12 months. We both have been just hit with like everything under the sun. So even though I've been able to, make some content for my channel, he hasn't been able to make any new content for months for his channel, unfortunately. But he's got a wonderful channel on game collecting, and even buys and creates his own labels and boxes for his Sega Genesis games and Super NES games. He'll show you how to go through and clean and paint an N64. He's got some great little techie type things. He's a master of going through and kind of cleaning up consoles and fixing them. He's the one that did the wonderful RCA stereo mod for my Sega Genesis, and he very generously surprised me and sent that to me because I mentioned I had wanted one. And I've just talked to him recently about modding not one but 2 of my clean original Xbox consoles. At the very least, getting rid of the, fixing the clock capacitor situation in them. One of them, we're going to maybe put like a 150, 160 gig hard drive in it, so that way I can rip and install all my favorite original Xbox games with ease. And I think they come with like an 8 or 10 gigabyte hard drive as it is, which typically is more than enough. You can get a lot of games in those compared to what you could put on a memory card, external memory card on a PS2. So we're going to try to do that and kind of clean one of them up. One of them I have the good Philips DVD drive, and it will probably dial that one in so it's a rock solid Xbox console that I can play my Xbox games for years to come. The other one we're going to mod and clean up as well, and then probably do some kind of an emulation deal where I can download all of these wonderful arcade games for the Super NES and Sega Genesis, and maybe even the C64 and stuff like that. I'm still kind of researching it. We both are. He's very proficient, could easily make the mods, but he doesn't know too much about doing some of the emulation on it. So we're still in the process of researching it. We're in no hurry. His health hasn't been the greatest, so he's going to have to get back up on his feet. This could be months from now, but I'm hoping by Christmas to have these Xboxes modded, which will be a real treat, and I'm very excited about it because I absolutely love the 6th generation of gaming consoles. There's just something about it. It's like it's the last generation where the games worked right out of the damn gate. You bought a game, it has everything in it. There was no extra DLC or patches and crap that you have to download. That was it. So when you buy a PS2 or an Xbox game, it's like it's done. It's finished, and you can play it now. You can play it 20 years from now. That is what is exciting to me about game collecting. You can play the bulk of the PS3 and Xbox 360 games, I'm sure, down the road. Even without patches, it probably would be okay. But with the newer consoles, I mean, it's really a coin toss, and it could be quite problematic. It could be done, but it would be very challenging. So that's why I love the 6th generation. To me, was the last generation where you bought a console and it was a pure gaming console, not a complete media center. Although I did like to rip music CDs in my original Xbox. So when I could play Forza, my favorite driving games, I could listen to Joe Satriani or my favorite driving music while I played those games. Which is one of the things I love about the original Xbox, is the custom soundtrack capability. I don't know why the hell you can't do that with a lot of the games of the Xbox 360. I think it's really missed. Although I do rip a lot of CDs, music CDs, in my Xbox 360 and my PS3 just to use as a music player. And that way I can take the disc out and I have all in the hard drive, all my favorite songs and CDs. But anyway, getting on to the Xbox, I've got 30 wonderful games that I'm going to be showcasing. Out of the 96 that I have, and believe me, there's a lot of other games that I used to have that I don't have yet that I'd like to have, but these are 30 games that I actually have in possession in my collection that I'm excited to share with you because I think they're wonderful, absolute must-play games. If you own an original Xbox and you love it anywhere as near as I do, I think you'll really find them a real treat. These are my favorites. Everyone's going to have different types of games and genres. And if I've missed some of yours, it's not because I think they're lesser games or anything, but these are the ones that had an impact on me that if someone put a map 10 to my head, I had to decide, or if I was on a desert island and could only pick 30 games, these would be the ones that I would pick. And believe me, it took me 2 days to whittle it down. I wasn't going to do a top 20 list of Xbox games. I just couldn't do it. I had to at least do 30 because it's just such a great one. I could easily do another 30 favorites because I think the games for this generation, and especially specifically for the Xbox, are just too good not to share with my friends. So I hope you enjoy this. This whole show is dedicated to my good friend Ben Boris in the UK. I can't think of anyone that loves the original Xbox more than me. So this is for you, Ben, and anyone else that shares any affinity for the original Xbox of love. So the cat's out of the bag with the first one, and that's Land of the Dead, Road to Fiddler's Green. Again, it's hated by a lot of people. I personally love it. It is the grandfather of all first-person zombie games. I mean, if you love Left 4 Dead games 1 and 2, and many other first-person games like Dead Island, they pretty much ripped off Land of the Dead. It's a wonderful game. It's still fun and challenging to play. The graphics are kind of fairly basic, obviously. Sometimes it's hard to go back and play some of these dated games, and of all of the original Xbox games, this one isn't quite as polished as many of them, but it still is really fun, and George Romero himself actually worked with this game. So this is the most authentic, real zombie game in my opinion, and it's more of the authentic George Romero-style zombies that move at you slowly. They're not like Joe Namath running at you at 110 miles an hour. It's quite fascinating. It even has an interesting progressive system, a difficulty setting to where the harder level you play, the faster and more aggressively the zombies come at you, which is pretty cool. And you can actually dismember the zombies, blow their legs off, cut their legs off with a fire axe, then they start crawling at you. It's really creepy. I literally had like a psychotic episode the first week I played this. It kind of got to me, and I went to sleep at night, and I would just have nightmares from playing this because I got into the immersion of it so much. I'd highly recommend Land of the Dead, Road to Fiddler's Green. There's sealed copies going for upwards of $100 on eBay once in a while. Every now and then I'll look and the prices are $75 or $100. So it's becoming quite a collectible game. Again, most of these games you can get for the Xbox fairly cheap right now. There's a handful of them that are going up in price, and I would highly urge you, if you have any love for the 6th gen consoles, PS2 or Xbox, for the love of God, get the games now because they are cheap and worth collecting. Now, none of these are in any particular order. I'm just going to go through them. They're just kind of randomly mixed in. I didn't there's no order as to which ones I think are better, and I'm going to end up with my favorites. But these are just a pile of 30 games I'm just going to quickly go through. Driver, Parallel Lines. I love the Driver series and have played every single one of them since the PlayStation 1 days. Of all of them, and I have Driver 3 for the original Xbox too, but this is my favorite of all 5 Driver games, including the Driver San Francisco, which I also have for the Xbox 360, but it's Driver Parallel Lines. Aside from the gorgeous box, it's one of my favorite box art of any video game, is Driver Parallel Lines. It's this gorgeous metallic shimmering box, this red 70 Challenger on the cover. It's a very cool game. It takes place in the 70s, and then the second half of the game takes place in the current day, when this game was made in late 2000s or 2005, 6, 7, somewhere in there. But it's a fascinating game, a giant open world like GTA of New York City, New Jersey, all the boroughs of New York. Great, absolute wonderful soundtrack, some of the best cutscenes you'll ever see in a video game, and by far the best Driver game in the series. It even is in widescreen, which is very unusual. One of the first games on an older system that was actually in widescreen, kind of a letterbox format. I love this game. Wonderful graphics, great driving sections, and it can be challenging at times too. driver parallel lines. Red Faction 2, I just got this a week ago. I'm so excited. That's why I've held off doing this. I was waiting to get this final game for my series here. You couldn't get the first Red Faction on the original Xbox, but Red Faction 2, I had played on my original Xbox back in the day and absolutely loved it. It's a fantastic game. It's not quite as gripping story-wise as the first one. The Geomod technology is not as used quite as extensively as it was in the first one, but it still is an outstanding game. Instead of being on Mars like the first game of the series, it takes place on Earth, but it has a lot of the same type of vibe and just heavy-duty weapons and destructible environments, blowing people, completely apart. It has a vast array of weapons. It's very violent, over the top, and the multiplayer is off the hook. A really fun game is the wonderful Red Faction 2. Highly recommended. You can get it fairly cheap, too. Reservoir Dogs. Now, this is a strange game. It's one of my absolute favorite movie licensed games of any video game, and that's Reservoir Dogs. It has the voice work of Michael Madsen, who was in the film. Unfortunately, a lot of the other actors, like Steve Buscemi and Harvey Keitel, they naturally couldn't get, as kind of not a budget game so much, but it's not a major AAA game, but it's not as cheap as a budget game either. It's very well made, and I think quite polished. The graphics look amazingly good, really good. This was one of the last 3 or 4 games that I bought and played for the original Xbox, and I absolutely love it. It has all the authentic music from the movie, and it's almost like a prequel. Everything that was alluded to in the movie, when they talk about the jewelry heist and Mr. Black going in and blowing everyone away at the mall or whatever, it's all talked about. Each of those scenarios, they go back like a flashback and show what actually happens. You play as multiple characters. It's very cool. You can use people as human shields. You can control the cops. You can play like a complete psychopath and kill everyone in there, and then have major shootouts with the cops. Or you can control the cops by taking hostages, and they all kind of put their guns down at their feet, and you can slowly walk out, but you got to be careful because they can turn on you real fast. A great game, and wonderful driving segments as well, with the various cars that were actually shown in the movie. You get to drive these cars in incredible getaway stunts, high-octane stunts. A really cool game. I can't recommend Reservoir Dogs enough. It's a real underrated gem. Shell Shock Nam 67. Tougher than a cheapsteak, and one of my favorite Vietnam games. And I have, Conflict Vietnam. I have other games, and Men of Valor, other wonderful games of the Vietnam era that you can get for the Xbox or the PS2, but this one is my favorite. It's really tough. I even have the strategy guide for this. It really captured the gritty, how no one wins in war. There's no heroes in this game. It's brutally challenging. Starts off fairly easy the first couple levels, and then it ramps up. Some of the shooting takes a while to get used to it. Some of these older games are a little awkward with the shooting compared to all of the wonderful polished shooters that we play today, in third-person, first-person shooters. But I love this game. Between some of the missions, you go back to your main camp where all your dudes are at. You can walk, kind of like a open world hub. You can walk around and talk to dudes, and there's great music playing on the loudspeakers. They have these little nudie girl playing cards you can collect in the game and stuff. It's a really cool game, and one of my absolute favorites, probably in my top 10 of all of my original Xbox games. I can't recommend this Nam 67 Shell Shock game. Shell Shock 2 Blood Trails is not near as good as this, in my opinion, although I do like that as well. From Russia with Love, 007. My favorite 007. Everyone says, GoldenEye and the N64. I never had an N64, and I never played GoldenEye. Not taking anything away from how wonderful those kind of first early FPS experiences were, but to me, even though it's a third-person shooter, it captures Bond so well. I mean, John Connery himself came back to the plate after he swore he'd never do another James Bond movie, and actually did the voice work. And they certainly used his likeness and everything. And it's a wonderful game because of that, as well as the wonderful authentic music. It's not so much the From Russia with Love. It combines a lot of the early Connery movies into one deal. With the car, it's 1963, Aston Martin DB5, the jetpack. Some of those things were in other early Bond movies, but it's all incorporated wonderfully, and it wraps up nicely in a really good story. This is incredibly fun. I played it through twice, all the way to the end, unlocked all of the challenge, the extra hidden bonus levels. It's a wonderful game, and I have a gorgeous strategy guide for this as well. And the Jetpack multiplayer is incredible. The best Bond multiplayer, par none, I've ever played. I can't rave enough about this. The Punisher, thanks to my good buddy Dave Wade. I had never played this before until last summer. Man, I bought this and I played a couple levels. I only played 3 levels of it, but I absolutely love it. It reminds me of Manhunt. It has an over-the-top graphic violence and torture scenes and all this crap in it. But it's just over the top. It's one of the few comic book heroes I love as a Punisher. I have the Thomas Jane movie as well. In fact, I have a pile over here I'm going to be watching with all my downtime after my surgery. But man, I am excited to finish playing this. This is a surprisingly great game, wonderful graphics, just a really dark and hardcore visceral game that I can't get enough of. Thank you, Dave, for recommending this one. It's well worth it. I think it's a real treat, and many of you that have played it know exactly and can imagine why I like it. It's an outstanding game. I highly recommend The Punisher for the original Xbox. Urban Chaos. I've been playing this about a week and a half ago. I'm about 3 levels into this too. Wonderful game. I had never played this when I had my original Xbox before. An absolute gem, highly underrated. I was shocked at how great it is, and it still is very fun and playable today. Another first-person shooter. You're playing someone that like defends the, it's like the city gone crazy with terrorism, and you're defending, the police department and the fire department, and you're there as like a heavy duty, almost a military type presence in an urban environment. That's what's so cool about it. You have a plastic riot shield you can use and get up and personal while they're shooting at you. Hold the shield up to protect yourself. Ram people with it, knock them out. You can incapacitate them with a stun gun, or use a wide variety of guns that you unlock in the game. It's over the top and extremely fun. You can even turn the gore or the blood on and off on it. I have a wonderful trailer to it, but the trailer doesn't show the blood part. But outstanding and exceptional game. I can't rave enough about is Urban Chaos. I laughed every level I played. I just found myself having an absolute ball with it. Cold Fear. Now, you'll hear often everyone loves Resident Evil, whether it's the new ones or Resident Evil 1 and 2. I had played the first Resident Evil, and I played Resident Evil 2 at a friend's house, and I think they're outstanding games, but especially on this generation of consoles, I didn't care for some of it just got too crazy and weird, a lot of the Resident Evils, in my opinion. I just kind of lost interest in it after the first 2. But I love this. This is like a Resident Evil clone, but you're off in this Russian trawler in these high seas. The graphics on this are incredible. It has a really cool opening cinematics with the Marilyn Manson song. It's creepy as hell. I mean, a really hard to play game, very challenging, extremely fun. It takes a while to get used to the camera and the controls of the little guy, but you're on this Russian trawler in these high seas with the seas sweeping over the deck, and you're just trying to hang on, and the ship rolls back and forth, and the water's going over the deck. Then it's kind of like a maze, and you go inside this giant ship, and there's all these corridors, and you find out there's a zombie outbreak, and you're trying to get to the bottom of it. It's extremely fun. You can find some gameplay videos on YouTube and see how cool it really is. I can't recommend Cold Fear enough. This game is going up in price too. It's quite collectible. I even have the rare strategy guide for this as well. An outstanding game then when I had my original Xbox, and an outstanding game now. Get Cold Fear. It really is one of the best survival horror type games I've ever played on any system. Manhunt. I just did a complete walkthrough of this exact game. Absolutely outstanding. I played it so many times on the PlayStation 2, and I even have it on my PS3 as well. And now, just this week, it's available for the PlayStation 4, as well as a wonderful Rockstar game, Bully. But I absolutely love Manhunt. It's one of my top 10 video games of all time. It's that good. Insanely graphic, over the top. Manhunt 2 is good too, although it was not on the original Xbox. It was only a PlayStation 2 exclusive, and you can also get it on PC. But this is an outstanding game, very controversial. Not everyone likes over-the-top violence and and gore. It reminds me of the there's a great Nicolas Cage movie. I can't remember what it's called. 8mm with Nicolas Cage. It's about snuff films. It's very much like that. If you've seen that film, and that pretty much is what Manhunt is. It's very dark. Brian Cox, a wonderful English actor, lends his voice for the director who orchestrates this whole nightmare of hell. And you just have to try to survive the evening. You can watch my complete walkthrough of this. There's no commentary, but it's a creepy-ass game and highly recommended. And man, does it look and play so much better on the original Xbox. Getting thirsty now. Black. This I had played on the PlayStation 2 originally, and then later I bought it for the Xbox and was really impressed with how much better it looks and plays on the Xbox, especially with the particle effects and the lighting and everything. And I even have it downloaded on off Xbox Live Arcade for my Xbox 360. But my God, this is one of the first really good action-packed. It's like every 80s action movie you've ever seen with the shootouts. And you shoot someone and they go flip over backwards over a railing. It's like over the top, very dramatic. Just tons of explosions and chaos and carnage everywhere. Sadly, there's no blood in it. That was my only complaint with the game. But other than that, a very fun game and really brutally tough. My God, this game is tough. Even just on the default setting, you really have to be careful because you have to rely on health packs and you've got to be very careful. It's a wonderful game. Highly recommend it. It has the longest opening cutscene I've ever seen in a video game. Once you've beaten the first level, then you never have to return to it because you can't skip it, unfortunately. But other than that, an outstanding game and one of the best games you can get for the original Xbox. Highly recommended. Heroes of the Pacific. There's quite a few good flying games for the original Xbox, but this one is my favorite. There's, I think, Weapons of over Normandy or something, which I used to have. I'm going to be looking for that one as well, and I love that one too. But this is one of my absolute favorite flying games. It also has a great sequel, Heroes over Europe, on the Xbox 360. It's a real hidden gem. This is an absolutely gorgeous, vibrant game. It gets really challenging near the end too. I've beaten the game once. I've tried to beat it a second time. I had a hard time even finishing it the second time. I don't even know how I beat it the first time. A wonderful game, a great different camera angles, flying these wonderful World War II planes on a wide range of missions in the South Pacific Islands and what have you. Beautiful game, vibrant, very fun. If you love flying games, you have absolutely got to get Heroes of the Pacific. It's my favorite. I've actually gotten quite a ways back into this since I bought this last summer, and I can't recommend it enough. Speaking of great World War II games, Medal of Honor Frontline. Now, I had played this on the PlayStation 2 initially. In fact, I have the original strategy guide for this as well, and I'm dying to go through and play this Xbox version, which I've never played. I also have Medal of Honor Rising Sun, which I've got over here, and I haven't played it yet. I'm dying to it, but first I want to replay this. I also have this downloaded in my PS3 as well. But what an outstanding game. I can't recommend this enough. I am dying to see even better graphics and textures and things with this particular version. This is an absolute must-play gem. One of the finest FPS experiences I've ever had. Like I said, I had played on the PlayStation 2, but I cannot wait to play this version of it. Here, talking about a wonderful original Xbox exclusive, one definitely a top 10 must-have game. For the original Xbox, it's the first Forza. And still one of the only games you can do the custom soundtracks with. Wonderful array of tracks, wonderful array of cars as well. This was a real changer for me. I loved the Gran Turismo 1, 2, and 3 and played, I mean, God only knows how many hundreds of hours I've played the Gran Turismo series, but I sadly never played another Gran Turismo game once I bought the Forza series and started delving into Forza. The Forza series just had better graphics, more realistic environments, tracks, the lighting was better, and they really captured the raw sound of real American muscle cars. They sounded like dentist drills when you play like the Gran Turismo 3 and 4. Unfortunately, as great as the graphics look, and I like the minutiae with the customization of the cars and everything with the Gran Turismo series, but it was just more of a raw realism, and they captured the sights and sounds of racing, I think, substantially well in this game. It still holds up well today. And on the original, on the Xbox 360, my favorite Forza, believe it or not, is the second one, was Forza 2. I even like it better than Forza 3 and 4, but this first one is highly playable and still a wonderful game to this day. If you love racing games, you absolutely must have Forza. Toka Race Car Driver 3, too, is another highly recommended game. Unfortunately, it didn't quite make this list of 30 games, but I would recommend it as well. Red Dead Revolver. Now, I've never played the original Xbox version, but I absolutely love this on the PlayStation 2. I even used to have the strategy guide, which I want to get back for this. This game is, oh my God, it's brutally tough. Tough as nails. I never could finish it. It's a strange Japanese game. It's kind of like, ironically, the Japanese interpretation of the Old West with authentic old spaghetti Western music, kind of the Italian spaghetti Western music. The music in this is even better than the music in its sequel, Red Dead Redemption. Absolutely a mesmerizing game. The controls take a while to get used to. You got to have some real patience. You could rage quit this game very easily. Like I said, I had a friend of mine, I was jealous because he beat this game. He was, I've been all through that game backwards and forwards, and I never could finish. I got to this one level where you're on this giant bridge. It's huge, like a Civil War battle. And you got to multitask, and I lost it at that point. I could never play it, and I kept going back and replaying it over and over and over. The checkpoints can be frustrating at times. Killer boss battles. Some of them you can get some really cheap deaths, but it's just such a unique game and a real gem. This is a really special game that I would highly recommend for the original Xbox. Speaking of wonderful Xbox games, oh my God, I just got this a week or so ago. The Chronicles of Riddick: Escape from Butcher Bay. I can't think of a better looking and playing first-person shooter experience with excellent melee combat for the original Xbox. This is one of the finest movie licensed games ever made. The real voice work of Vin Diesel. Just wonderful atmosphere. They really captured, and you feel like you're in this universe, and it's an outstanding game. This is better than the Vin Diesel movies that it's based on. It's really that good. You can also get a wonderful HD remaster of this for the Xbox 360, The Chronicles of Riddick: Assault on Dr. Athena, and the other half on the same disc, it has a completely remade version of this, Escape from Butcher Bay. I even have the original strategy guide for this. This is an absolute must-play gem, a real hidden gem, and it's becoming quite collectible too. Get a copy of this if you can. Speaking of Xbox exclusives, here's a wonderful game. I even have this downloaded off Xbox Live Arcade for my Xbox 360. Crimson Skies: High Road to Revenge. An absolutely wonderful fantasy flying game. It's kind of like a throwback to the old movies of the 40s. It's just really well done. Excellent controls, wonderful use of lighting and 3 dimensions. The frame rate is extremely smooth in this. This is so much fun. I cannot recommend this enough. This is one of the finest, probably top 10 exclusives, I think, for the original Xbox. Many of you know it as well, and you've played it. You can get many copies of this. You can get this game dirt cheap. It's an outstanding game. I can't recommend it enough. I'm on a roller coaster of these ones. A lot of games to get through. Destroy All Humans. Now, I also have the second one for the original Xbox, and I just downloaded the third one, Path of Furon, off Xbox Live Arcade, my PlayStation, and my Xbox 360. But this first game, I think I have the strategy guide for it too. Actually, I still do. This game is so fun. I've laughed through the whole game. Whoever created the game, I mean, they really have a clever adult sense of humor. It's kind of like a 50s, late 50s, early 60s look. Kind of like the X-Files with the FBI going after aliens. But you play as the aliens and just wreaking havoc on the Americans at the time in the typical traditional 50s Leave It to Beaver American mindset of the late 50s. It is so funny and a real treat. And you play from a couple different perspectives with your actual flying saucer, or up at close and personal as a little Martian with these really cool weapons. You can rip their heads, their brains and spines out of them, or mind control them. It is so cool. It's a challenging game too. I cannot recommend this game. It's one of the most fun and cute original Xbox games you can play. I think you can probably get it on the PS2 as well, but I absolutely love the adult sense of humor and the crazy antics where it's like completely reversed. Instead of typically you're fighting against Martians and aliens, this time you play as the aliens. And he's got like a Jack Nicholson voice and attitude, which really adds a tremendous amount of comedy to the game. I really would recommend this one quite a bit. Speaking of great recommendations, I finally got this last summer, Scarface, The World Is Yours. God, I had played this on my brother-in-law's, I think I played on the PS2 version. I never played the Xbox version. So I'm dying to see how much better the graphics look on this. But this is an absolute blast. Kind of like a GTA game, open world, Miami, but with all of the authentic Scarface music. It sounds like Al Pacino with all the typical one-liners. Tons of swearing. F this, F that. You can blow people's heads off. You get points for blowing their limbs off and heads off. It's very violent. It's very in your face, over the top. You can go anywhere you want in the open world. You can kind of stick with the missions. It's very, very cool. I like the driving sections as well. I'm dying to get back into this. A very cool game. One of the best movie licensed games. And it took me a long time to find this, like 2 years. I've been trying to find a copy of this. I was thrilled to find it in the wild. You can definitely find it on eBay. You've got to play the Scarface game. It's an absolute collectible game for the original Xbox, or the PS2 for that matter. Scarface, The World Is Yours. A real gem. This is my favorite of all the SXX games. I know the SSX Tricky's a real favorite too, and I want to get that. I saw that in my store the other day, but I didn't have the money for it. But I love that. This is my favorite of all of them. SSX 3. I even have a rare strategy guide for this. What's cool about this is as you unlock slowly all of the different runs, near the end of the game, you can connect every single mountain run in one enormous, epic long run where you just go nonstop from one mountain run to the next. That, in my opinion, is what makes this one my favorite. And it just really captures the sensation of speed. I mean, you want a really good racing game. I love snowboarding games like, Stoke Air Edition on the Xbox 360. And I certainly love the new SSX, which I have permanently installed on my hard drive of my 360. But this is an absolute must-have if you love snowboarding. And I also have some of the AMP games as well for the original Xbox, and I love them too, but this is even more polished and even a better game. Wonderful music, wonderful graphics, and just a lot of fun. Major attitude. It's just fun to play the different characters and to go down these mountains. In fact, the more I look at this box, I got to play it again soon. I love this one. Outrun 2, one of the best Sega games for the original Xbox. I've played it on the Xbox 360 too, but it just has these horrendous audio bugs that'll drive you insane. That's why I gave up on doing the backwards compatible thing. Every time I've tried it with Manhunt, with this one, all my favorite games, I have weird audio bugs and weird glitches and frame rate issues. I just gave up on it. So to me, I'm a real diehard fanatic with playing these games on the original hardware, and that's why I urge you, if you love the original Xbox, buy yourself a second one. They're dirt cheap. You can get them on eBay. We can get them for $40 all day long. My Dimple stores always have them for $40. And some of them, I even get a fourth one just because I can. They're so cheap. But this looks and plays amazingly smooth. The frame rate is just top-notch. A wonderful game on the original Xbox. It's so fun. This is my favorite Outrun of all of them. And I've played all of them, and I love them on the Sega Genesis. I definitely want to get the one for the Genesis as well. But it's just something about the fluidity of the high-speed driving, the wonderful licensed Ferraris, the music, everything, the graphics, incredibly buttery smooth frame rate. This is an absolute gem and a must-play older Sega game for the original Xbox. Warriors. I just watched this movie from Walter Hill the other night, and my wife surprised me and ordered me the wonderful strategy guide for this, which I used to have when I first played it at launch on the PlayStation 2. God, years ago, in '05 or whatever. It's hard to believe it's over 10 years old now. The movie was so good the other night. I hadn't seen it. In fact, my movie even had a little pamphlet for this game in it. And at the beginning of the movie, it even had a really cool, lengthy trailer for this game, which I was just surprised as hell to see. I'm dying to play this again. I've been going through the strategy guide, and it just brings back a flood of memories of how much fun this game. This is one of the finest Rockstar games ever made, in my opinion. If you love movie license games and you have any love for the film, my God, you've got to play this. It's like being back in the 70s New York City that captured the grittiness of the pseudo-apocalyptic kind of vibe of it. It's over the top, and it has the voices and the likenesses of all of the damn actors. A lot of the actors, sadly, are gone now that were in this. Can you dig it? I can. This is an outstanding game. You got to play The Warriors if you love Rockstar games and the film. Oh, God, another great movie license game, Star Wars Jedi Outcast. Last night I found an old PlayStation magazine from 2003, and I found a full-page ad for this game in there, and I almost brought tears to my eyes. This game I never played when it first came out. I just played it just in the last, before Thanksgiving I played this. And I was blown away. I think this is the finest Star Wars game I've personally ever played. And I love Super Star Wars and the Super NES, and even have it downloaded off the PlayStation 4 from my PS4. But my God, the progression of this, you start off with a blaster initially, has all these wonderful real Imperial environments. I mean, you feel like you're in a Star Wars film. It's just so well. It has like an expanded universe, characters, but you have all of the little droids and the sounds of them, and the authentic sounds of the blasters, the lightsabers. And then about halfway through the game, you finally get your force powers as well as a lightsaber, and it's like the game is a quantum leap. And the game just gets radically better and better. Wonderful level designs, a lengthy game, great environments. You feel like you have the force powers. In some ways, I like this even better than The Force Unleashed 1 and 2. An incredible game. This is one of my top 10 original Xbox games, and I have almost every Star Wars game. I'm only missing 2 of them. Star Wars Obi-Wan I want to get. I know it's not a great game, but I still want it for my collection. The Jedi Starfighter. Those are the only 2 Star Wars games I'm missing for the original Xbox, and I'll have all of them. I love them all. They're all great games and worth playing. But this one is magical. I even like it better than the Jedi Academy that came after it, and I have it as well. Max Payne, I just got done doing a whole retrospective on this. I had never played this port of it. Now, I have played it completely on the PlayStation 2 a couple times and really love it. I can't rave enough about this. I just did a major recollection thing on my last rant on this and how magical this game was. I was completely blown away with the whole slow motion bullet time thing. Now it's been done to death in so many games like Call of Juarez, Red Dead Revolver, Red Dead Redemption. It's been many other games that have emulated the wonderful slow motion, kind of Matrix-like mechanic that's in this. But this has got a really gritty graphic novel, comic book style to it. The music alone is just so melodic and mesmerizing. You really get immersed with this character. It almost makes me want to watch the Max Payne movie, which is horrible. I might even have to get the film. I just love something about the music, and the whole vibe of it is so good. I might have to get the DVD now. As terrible as it is, I have seen it. My brother-in-law brought it over, and we watched his Blu-ray of it or something. It was pretty interesting, but nothing can beat the games. And I have Max Payne 2 as well. I'd highly recommend that one as well. But this is an absolute must-play. I just saw recent comparison shots between the PS2 port and this Xbox port. This is a far superior looking port and playing port. It plays so much better than the PS2 one. I thought the PS2 one was outstanding, so I can't wait to play this. Highly recommended. This is the Platinum Hits, but that's okay. And they have these Platinum Hits boxes that are great. Some people don't like to collect them, but I like them. It just shows you that it's a great game, and it's nice to kind of break the games up with the silver box. But outstanding, voice acting, gameplay, and are just a really gritty adult action, in-your-face, violent kind of game that you can't get enough of is Max Payne. Speaking of another great violent game, Return to Castle, Wolfenstein, Tides of War. I've got this entire game in my computer. I could probably even do a whole walkthrough of this with all the footage I've got. An outstanding game. I was surprised. I had never played the Tides of War version of this. I'd only played the Operation Resurrection on the PlayStation 2, and then I replayed it off from Steam on my older computer back in like 2011 or so. What a wonderful game. This game, along with the Red Faction game, sold me on FPS games to this day. This is my favorite franchise of all time. It's a Wolfenstein franchise because of this. Not Wolfenstein 3D, which I never played until I had played this first, but this game, the 2009 Wolfenstein, certainly the New Order is outstanding. It's just all in the same tradition and vibe that they've captured so well with this. We're dealing with the occult, with Nazis, with the sci-fi Tesla-type weapons. Over the top, highly recommended. Anyone that knows me or my channel knows that this is an outstanding game that I can never get enough of. Wolfenstein, Tides of War. This had a wonderful multiplayer component with it, which I guess you probably can't play online anymore, but as well as a co-op. And you can even do wonderful split screen with this, which is, for that reason, it's great, which you couldn't do with the PS2 version. Roadkill. I didn't even know this was on the Xbox until a year ago. In fact, I bought the PS2 one and started replaying it, then I replayed it again on the original Xbox. I haven't quite finished it. I'm stuck on one boss battle right now, like 2/3 of the way through. This one I think is 3 islands, kind of like the GTA games. We have to unlock each of the 3 islands, like in San Andreas, and that's one of the things I love about it. It has some of the best licensed music I've ever heard, kind of like the GTA game. Really great radio stations you can listen to, including some hilarious talk radio. Very much like Twisted Metal, a very strange and unusual game, but this is, in some ways, I like even better than the Twisted Metal Black and other Twisted Metal games, as wonderful and as polished as they are. This was done by, oh God, what was the name of the studio for this? Terminal Reality, that did the wonderful Ghostbusters game and the Walking Dead Survival Instinct that did this. This is one of their finest games and an absolute gem. If you're collecting for the Xbox and you want an absolutely outstanding, fun kind of a, Death Race 2000 Twisted Metal racing game, Death Car Combat game, you cannot beat Roadkill. I even have a rare 2003 license plate. This came out almost the same time Manhunt did, but I pre-ordered it for the PS2 and got a special, actual real metal license plate from this game. It's so cool. An outstanding game. I'd highly recommend Roadkill if you can find it. It's hard to find for the Xbox, but real popular for the PS2. Getting down near the end, Freedom Fighters. I just saw in one of my magazines last night. I found a bunch of old game magazines. They were mixing with some car magazines. I was going through my closet the other day, so I was sat up late last night because I couldn't sleep. And I was just looking at these old ads. I found a 2-page ad for Freedom Fighters. I thought it was so cool. A wonderful game. This one I had played on the original Xbox. It's so outstanding. This is probably the finest squad-based tactical shooter I've ever played. And I love that, I have all 3 of the Brothers in Arms, Road to Hill 30 and Hell's Highway and all those, and I love them too. But the squad tactics and the post-apocalyptic kind of setting and story of this puts this one over the top. Great music. Russians take over New York. You're a lowly plumber trying to work in the resistance and take back your beloved city one place at a time. You take back the city hall and the library and the docks and the Statue of Liberty. It's fantastic. It's epic, sweeping Russian music, heavy, wonderful orchestrated Russian music through the whole thing. And all the Russian propaganda as they completely take over and redecorate Times Square in New York. It's over the top, highly recommended. It even plays wonderful today. It takes a little while to get used to the combat initially, but once you get into it, it really plays great. And it has some of the most intelligent AI, believe it or not, even after all these years with your squad. They actually do what you tell them, and that's what makes you feel in command of this little group of guys. And as you do better and better, you can recruit more guys under you, and it is epic. I can't wait to play this again. It's been kind of between this and Warriors. Now, I'll probably play Warriors first, but this one I'm going to play right after. I love Freedom Fighters. Highly recommend it for any system, but you've got to get it for the original Xbox. It looks and plays so damn good. Another great game, Midnight Club 3. I love Midnight Club 1 and 2. In fact, you can get Midnight Club 2 for the original Xbox, but not the first one. The first one only came as an exclusive on the PlayStation 2. But this third one is outstanding. Incredible graphics, and it still holds up and plays really good today. Huge, like, open worlds. You can drive anywhere you want. Wonderful array of races. Some of the best licensed music I've ever heard. Even a couple of my favorite Nine Inch Nails songs on here. Wonderful cities at night all lit up. The game is tough. It has that godforsaken rubber band AI that can drive you nuts at times, but if you can deal with that, it's really fun. What I like about the Midnight Club games compared to many of the other racing games that are similar to it is that they have these big open world areas. They have like this big smoky lights you can see in the distance, and you can get to them any way you want. So you can pick the path you want to take. There's also these power-up things that you can run over, which give you different attributes for ramming or for slow motion. So there's some interesting things you can do in the racing as well. This is one of the finest collectible racing games you could have for the 6th generation, in my opinion. It's an absolute must-play game. I'd highly recommend it. This is the dub edition. It comes with all like the even more cars and incredible customization with the cars you do. It even has a version of my Dodge Ram Hemi truck in this as well, which is so cool. I'd highly recommend Midnight Club 3. This is my favorite of them. Midnight Club LA I love also for the Xbox 360, but this is the best one for the original Xbox by far. This is a wonderful game. I love this. I've never played the original Xbox version. I've only seen footage of it, but this is one of the most impressive comparisons I've ever seen of an Xbox game to a PlayStation 2 game is Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb. My God, I got stuck at my father-in-law's house in the snow, and we played his PS2 version of this night after night, and I absolutely was engrossed in it. He made it all the way through. I couldn't quite make it all the way through. It was like at the tank level or one of them. It was a timing thing, and you had to do the timing just right to stay ahead of this tank. And I rage quit it. I never finished the game. I got to go back and finish it. I even had the original strategy guide at one time. I played it at my father-in-law's house, and then I bought the game for myself, including the original guide when I got back home. But this is one of the best licensed movie games I've ever played. Incredible platforming, great graphics. In the Xbox version, the comparison videos I've seen, it really looks amazingly better than the PlayStation 2. It's the best Indiana Jones game, in my opinion, I've ever seen. The guy even sounds like Indiana Jones, certainly looks like him. It has all the attitude and of the original movie series, and it's very, very well done. Even a gorgeous little booklet inside that's kind of like something you'd see Indiana Jones would have a kind of a worn little leather little manual, you know, with all his notes and stuff in it. It's very cool. Wonderful game, brutally tough, but an absolute must-have in your collection is Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb. Watch some videos on this, you'll be really impressed. My final game was tough to pick between this and the first one, is Star Wars Battlefront 2. Battlefront 2 slightly edges out the first one because of the space battles. I mean, it's great to play as the X-Wing fighters and the TIE fighters in the space. It's so cool. Why the hell they couldn't have had that with the new Star Wars Battlefront? It's a shame it's an online server-based multiplayer game, because I would love to have something like this on a newer system that you could play offline, but it's okay. I have spent last year, right before the holidays, I played the living hell out of both Battlefront 1 and 2. You got to get either one for your collection. I had the first one for the longest time, and I just recently finally found Star Wars Battlefront 2 locally. It's an outstanding game. There's so much to it, in so many ways you can play it, split screen or not, or just playing against the bots. It's so much fun. A lot of people play this online. I never did. I've played the PlayStation 2 versions. I've played the Xbox versions. I've rebought them on the Xbox recently. This is my last game, the final 30th game but highly recommended. If you love Star Wars, you absolutely have got to. It's worth getting original Xbox, in my opinion, just to play Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2. They're that good, in my opinion. So those are my 30 must-play games. I could easily do another 30 of these. I have so many great games, and there's so many other wonderful ones that I haven't listed. Now, I easily could have, had the, GTA 3 and Vice City and San Andreas. They all look and play better on the Xbox than on the PlayStation 2. But those are kind of, even though I have both of them for both systems, those, in my mind, are still kind of PlayStation 2 games because I played them on that. I wanted to focus on the games that I have played on the Xbox. I haven't played any of the newer, the Grand Theft Auto games I haven't yet played on the Xbox. So I wanted to share only games that I had played. But there's so many great ones. It's a wonderful system to collect for. If you have any love for the system, now's the time to do it. The prices are really affordable. Call of Cthulhu and Stubbs a Zombie. There are a few that are going up in price. I recently got Test Drive Eve of Destruction. My God, I've seen that for $50 and $70 on eBay, and I got the game for $13 or $14, really cheap locally. I just had to remove all the stickers off the box, and I'm thrilled to have that. So some of them are kind of going up in price, but it's still overall a very affordable system. You can buy the consoles dirt cheap, between $25 and $50 on eBay. Get them locally, like I said, for about $40 in great condition. I've got 3 of them that not even a scratch on them, and they all operate smoothly and sound quiet and work wonderful. I just got to change the clock capacitors, and I'm dying to mod mine and put bigger hard drives in. I got to put a better DVD drive in one of them, as it has one of the lesser DVD drives in it that are prone to breaking. But overall, there's a wonderful array of great videos on how to soft mod them. You can watch. I've been watching a bunch of them recently. And I absolutely love the console. It's meant so much to me. And I've had more fun collecting for my PlayStation 2 and original Xbox lately than any other console so far. Even though I'm dying to get more games for my Genesis, and I don't have any for my Super NES yet, but I'm anxious to. So that's my favorite Xbox games that are must-play games. I hope you enjoyed this. This will be my last video for a while. And I wanted to do something fun and lively, something that I'm passionate about, that I know many of you love as well. So take care, guys, and no matter what genre or what game it is, enjoy your video games and enjoy life. Life is short. Thanks.